Here is an interesting statistic so far. The Niners have played 3 games on the road starting at 10 a.m. Pacific time, won all 3. Tomorrow, against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville, can we make it 4? Well, let's get into it. Alright everybody, welcome back to another episode with your boy Shifty. This is Shifty Sports Talk. This one goes out to Niner fans near, far, NFL sports fans. You're all welcome here. Want to start out the video by saying, the video is definitely coming out very, very late this week. It's the night before the game. A combo of being really busy at work and also not feeling great is the reason for that. So we have a big matchup. I'm really excited to talk about it. It's the 49ers at the Jaguars. Right now, the 49ers are sitting at 4-5, while the Jaguars at 2-7. 49ers are in the thick of the Wildcard race. Another thing that I want to get out of the way, too, is some of the injury notes. So, unfortunately, Dre Greenlaw will not be back for this game. Jermichael Hasty, Elijah Mitchell are most likely both going to be out for this game. Then we also have Maurice Hurst, who wasn't expected back, but will definitely miss this game. For the Titans, they have a couple of guys missing. They have O'Shaughnessy at tight end, Brandon Linder at center, so they're going to be starting not their main guy at center, so that could be huge. Allen at linebacker, and then James Robinson at running back is questionable. So if James Robinson can't go, looks like former 49er Carlos Hyde will take the majority of the snaps. So when we look at this matchup with the stats, the teams are not too dissimilar statistically, but the 49ers are leading the Jaguars in some very, very key categories. So offensively, the 49ers are scoring more than a touchdown more a game than the Jaguars. So on average, the Niners are scoring 24 a game, Jacksonville less than 17. Points per game are a lot closer, though. The Niners giving up almost 24, whereas the Jaguars almost 26. Statistically, though, when you look at offensively and defensively, the Jacksonville Jaguars have actually played a little bit better than the 49ers in terms of the run. So both offensively and defensively, on average, on offense, they're averaging just a little, literally 1 or 2 more yards a game. But defensively, they're actually giving up about 17 less yards a game. So that's pretty crucial there. Whereas the 49ers are definitely leading in terms of passing, both offensively and defensively, they are significantly ahead of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So when you look at the matchup there, the 49ers strengths typically, like we saw against the Rams, would be running the ball effectively, maybe having some key passes from Jimmy Garoppolo, and then hopefully getting those short passes that take him for a long touchdown, like we saw with Debo also on Monday Night Football. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Of course, the 49ers will need to get their ground game going, so it's really a bummer that Elijah Mitchell is not going to be playing. I think at this point he's considered doubtful, so I'm just going to essentially rule him out for the game. So we're going to have Jeff Wilson Jr. and we're going to have Trey Sermon, rookie Trey Sermon out of Ohio State, probably taking the majority of the snaps. Really excited to see Jeff Wilson Jr. get a big bunch of carries tomorrow. Also, Trey Sermon. I think here's a time where he has an opportunity to prove himself and to maybe earn some more carries, because I think he definitely has a lot of potential. So what the 49ers need to do is really just get the ground game going and then build those play actions off them. Honestly, I think they need to do a very, very similar plan to what they did on Monday night against the Rams, is show a lot of different looks in the run game, a lot of different players in the run game. So you're obviously now at this point, you're going to see Jeff Wilson Jr., you're going to see Trey Sermon. Of course, want to see maybe Debo get 3-4 carries in the backfield. Maybe you do a couple of things with Juszczyk, Brandon Ayuk, get a whole bunch of different guys involved there. So if we can get those rushing yards and if we can actually attack their strength and then have success with that, then I think that's going to lead to a lot of good things. So honestly, when it comes down to this game, I want to talk about some of the key players on both teams. So with the 49ers, I think we just kind of talked about and hit on Jeff Wilson Jr., Trey Sermon. How are they going to perform? How are they going to look? They cannot turn over the ball. That's crucial. They cannot have any turnovers. Also, some key players that we're going to look at for the 49ers that we need to talk about. It's going to be basically all of the edge rushers not named Nick Bosa. Like, we know that Bosa can, get a couple of sacks, have some really big plays, but can the other guys step up? Because you know that basically every team is going to be throwing their tackle and a tight end to chip Bosa, to slow him down. So can guys like Jordan Willis, Arden Key, Samson Ebukam, Charles Omenihu, can these guys have a big game and get pressure on Trevor Lawrence? Because the Jaguars' offensive line, while not great, they do have quite a lot of experience. So at tackles, they have Cam Robinson and they have Jawan Taylor. So not like rookie guys. So guys who've been around the league, and they have Andrew Norwell at left guard. So some pretty solid players, although they haven't typically played that well. But just veteran guys. So so our defensive ends will have to step up, make some big plays. Guys that not named Nick Bosa. Of course, at safety, it's going to be interesting because Jaquiski Tartt is back in the lineup, whereas Hufanga has actually played really, really well in that spot with Tartt out. So what will D'Amico do? Will he start off with Tartt in there just as like the veteran guy, maybe work Hufanga in certain packages, or will they trust the rookie? That'll be interesting to see. I know that Tartt and Ward, they have like a very good communication because they've played together for so long. So my hunch would be that they start off with Jaquiski Tartt and then maybe work Hufanga in over the course of the game. Of course, a key player for the 49ers, Jimmy G, who's actually played really, really well the last few games, bouncing back after that dreadful game against the Colts. In those 3 games since that, he's actually had 100 quarterback rating in all 3 games, so that's really good. And then when you look at the last 2 games, 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, so really impressive. So we really want to get like a lot of these guys, make some big plays, get involved. Of course, we all know that Debo's going to have his touches, Kittle's going to have his touches, but I think these other guys could be like the difference between a win and a loss here, and the Niners need this win. So now moving on to some of the key players for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Some guy who's like really just come out of nowhere the last couple of weeks is Jamal Agnew, their wide receiver. Of course, last week he had a huge long run against the Colts. Was a 66 plus yards or something like that. So really impressive. And then he also, I think the week before, or maybe it was the same game, but he had a kick return for a touchdown, which those kind of plays can just alter the game big time. So he's had a couple of game-changing plays, so we'll need to keep an eye on him. Of course, Trevor Lawrence, the rookie out of Clemson, number 1 overall pick. He's played, I think, okay, maybe a little bit under what Jacksonville Jaguar fans definitely would have hoped for, but overall he's been okay. Here's a big thing, though. He actually hasn't had a touchdown in the last 2 games. He hasn't thrown for a touchdown in the last 2 games, so that's something to keep an eye on. Can the 49ers hold him, keep him to maybe extend that to a 3-game stretch? And the Niners pass defense, has been pretty solid statistically, although that doesn't include all of our defensive pass interference. So that's something to think about too. Honestly, when I think about the whole game plan for this game and what we got to do is we got to keep up that intensity from Monday night. We cannot come out flat like we did against the Cardinals. We got to play smart, disciplined football, just like we have to do every time. Another big thing that, like we did on Monday night, is we got to win the turnover battle. So another huge stat that we have to talk about is that the Niners overall in the year are -7 in turnovers. There's 4 teams that are worse than them. One of those teams is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were second worst in the NFL, -10. So if the 49ers can have another game where maybe they win the turnover battle by 2, then suddenly, we're building, the defense is getting a bunch of confidence, seeing that they can make plays, something to really build off of as we head into maybe a stretch of games that might be a little bit more difficult. But overall, I think if we, in terms of offensively, if we can run the ball well, have those key plays, I wouldn't actually be surprised, and this could be, maybe I'm kind of contradicting myself here, but that the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to come into this and they're going to see what the Niners just did, and they're going to be like, we got to stop the run. Now, the Jaguar safeties are not very good, so it might, and this, this could backfire, and this could be almost like what Stafford and the Rams did against the Niners, where it backfired, where they threw a deep interception. But I wouldn't be surprised if in like the first maybe 2 or 3 plays, maybe they line up with, maybe it's Debo, maybe it's Ayuk, or maybe it's like someone like a Travis Benjamin with more speed. but they, play action and they just heave it deep and try and hit him with a big play because they know that defenses are most likely going to sell out to stop the run. So that's something that I would keep an eye on. But other than that, maybe you have try for that one big splash play in the pass game early on. But beyond that, I loved what they did against the Rams was perfect. Just a lot of different runs, a lot of different looks, a lot of different formations, a lot of different guys having the ball. Maybe you sprinkle in a little Trey Lance as well. And then defensively, outside of Bosa, the guys got to get pressure. Like Armstead, DJ Jones, and then all the defensive ends that I talked about, these guys really have to have a big game because it can't just all be on Bosa to get pressure on the opposing quarterback. And if we do get pressure on Trevor Lawrence, being a rookie, I think we can definitely force some turnovers. Beyond that, I really love to see how well Emmanuel Mosley's played, although he's dropped a number of interceptions, and I'd like to see him maybe hold on to a couple of those. Ward, keep up that excellent play, and then Hufanga and Tart if they can have a strong game at safety, and then also Josh Norman, just limit mistakes, don't have any big mistakes, crucial mistakes, and then, as I say every game, I want to see Fred Warner have a big splash play. Overall, I like our chances. If I had to make a prediction, I'm going to say 49ers, maybe 24, Jaguars 17. Maybe the Jaguars get a late touchdown. I'm feeling pretty good, but the last time I felt really good going into a game was against the Cardinals, and we saw how that went. One last thing before I end the video is I'd be remiss not to talk about how this is going to be a reunion of George Kittle and CJ Beathard. Now, they've played together for years and years. Of course, in college, they played together at Iowa. They played together at the 49ers. So that'll be cool to see. I'm sure there'll be a lot of photographs and things like that. But yeah, I'm sure that'll be great for Kittle to see, his quarterback for so long again. And obviously on the other sideline. But, it is what it is. And that's just how football goes. But at that point, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Feel free to leave your comments, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And really at this point, all I can say is that, you know what, guys? Catch you tomorrow at the stream, and I'm going to be streaming about 10 minutes before kickoff. Beyond that, catch you all on the flip side.